page 2 of 9.5, it starts with a little look back in the book on page 581, talks you through the steps for solving radical equations. Very similar to what we had in our notes. The book just tends to do things a little bit differently in terms of different words, and I do that on purpose. I try not to match the book exactly because I want to give you a couple different ways at least to look at problems. Sometimes that helps. Different learners need to hear it different ways. So that's why I always include the book instructions as well, in case those are more helpful for you, which is great. You just want to find what helps you. Let's look at what the Practice Plus will look like. Practice Plus meaning, again, they're kind of combining at least 2 skills in one. So as you see in number 48, as you start to glance at it, you can see that we're going to be translating what's here into an equation and then solving it. Because we're in the section that's on solving radical equations, you can expect that there's going to be a radical in your equation that you're going to have to solve. Okay? So let's read this through, take a deep breath, read it again, and then we will figure out, sorry, I'm trying to get my little platform here to hold still. We'll try to figure out what's important here, what we're going for, and just start translating that process. So a number is 6 more than the principal square root of 3 times the number. Find the number. Deep breath. Do not jump in the very first time you read it. Read it at least a second time. Kind of get a clear vision of what they're giving you and what they're asking for. A number is 6 more than the principal square root of 3 times the number. Find the number. Okay, so our goal here is to find the number. And for lack of creativity today, we'll just call that x. Okay? And let's see what they give us here now. They give us that the number is 6 more. So a number is, that usually translates to an equal sign. That number is x. X is 6 more than, so we're going to be adding 6 to what? To the principal square root. So that's going to involve the radical there. Principal square root of, this is about to tell you what's under the radical. Okay? This is the radicand. Principal square root of something. So the square root has to be over something. What is that something? 3 times the number. So this is the radicand. 3 times the number, or 3 times x, or you might just write it as 3x. Find the number. So let's see if we can put that into one sentence here. We've got a number is, so x is, x equals 6 more than, we're adding 6 to the principal square root. So we've got a principal square root, and then we're going to add 6 to it. You could do 6 plus the square root, but it's just talking about 6 more than, so it's 6 more than something that's already there. So let's just go ahead and try to translate it that way. Principal square root of, what's the square root of? It's the square root of 3 times the number. So there's our equation. X equals square root of 3x plus 6. And that should look familiar. By the time you get to Practice Plus, you've done a whole bunch of these. So once you've done the translation, you've really done the hard part of this problem. Now you get to practice more of what you've been doing all section here. And that is to get the radical all by itself. So we're going to start by subtracting 6 on both sides. That gives us x minus 6 is equal to radical 3x. It doesn't matter that there's an x on the other side. Again, our goal, we got to follow our steps. Get the radical by itself, and that's what we did. From there, we're going to square both sides. And just a reminder, once again, here's that x minus 6 raised to a power of 2. That literally means you have to FOIL it out. Don't forget the outside-inside pieces. And once you do that, you get x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals, what does it equal? Well, you're squaring a square root. You're undoing the radical operation. So all the square does is get rid of that square root sign. It doesn't do anything to the inside piece. The inside piece is just set free, so to speak. You just get the 3x out of there. Okay, from there, I'm going to move this over so I have some more workspace. So I'm going to recopy what I have so far. X squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 3x. Now, what we did over here on the left was the new material from this section. Now what we're facing is similar to Chapter 7 stuff, where we had a x squared involved, a quadratic equation that we had to solve. And our strategy at this point We're going to learn some more in chapter 10, but our strategy at this point is to put this in standard form, meaning make it equal to 0, and then factor and use the zero product property. So we're going to subtract the 3x from both sides, giving us x squared minus 15x plus 36 equals 0. Then we're going to factor. Now I'm going to assume that you're getting pretty good at your factoring. I'm not going to walk through all the steps here. There's lots of options for factoring. 3 terms, convert to 4, and then use factoring by grouping. Guess and test. You don't have a lead a value, so you could just start splitting 36 into what will multiply to give you positive 36, but add together to give you a negative 15. Either one of those methods should get you there. In the end, you should come up with x minus 3 and x minus 12 as your 2 factors. And then when you use zero product property, you take that x minus 3, set it equal to 0. You take the x minus 12, set it equal to 0, because when you have something times something else and it equals 0, either the first something has to equal 0 or the second something has to equal 0. You know that one or both of those is true. So our 2 options now are x is equal to positive 3 or x is equal to positive 12. When you solve those, you get 2 possibilities. But because we started with a radical, well, it's always a good idea to check your answer, but we should definitely check both of these because we might end up with an extraneous solution. So let's check these. In the original, it was x equals square root of 3x plus 6. So we're going to try x equals 3 in that situation. I'm going to put a 3 wherever I saw x in the original. Now we're trusting that our translation was okay. So here we go. You get 3 on the left. On the right, 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. These are not equal, so this is an extraneous solution. X equals 3 is correct algebraically, but it is not a solution to the original equation. So let's do our second check. Our original was x equals square root of 3x plus 6, and let's check x equals 12 in that. 12, 12, and we'll question mark to remind ourselves what we're doing here. We're checking to see if this works. So I get 12 on the left. On the right, 3 times 12 is 36. Square root of 36 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. And yes, that does work. That is a true statement. So x equals 12 is our answer here. That is the number that we were trying to find. And let's see, did I go off? Oh, sorry, I went out of camera view for a little bit. So I'll bring this down so you can see the rest of that. And then I'll pause the video and we'll start a fresh one for the bottom part of 9.5. We'll see in just a moment.